I rise from the grave. Much to the dismay of all the women and children in the area, it's time for that damn thing starting me. Thomas. Now, I know some of you may have forgotten this whole thing existed. This was a whole project I was attempting, but I didn't. You see, the fact of the matter is, life just got too busy the past 2 weeks for me to record, and yeah, it's kind of hard to record when you're out on the ocean fishing, which is what I want to talk about today. You see, I went on a fantastic trip over to Westport. If you don't know where that is, essentially it's on the western coast of Washington, about 3 hours drive from Seattle. But I went on a fishing trip there, and I had a lot of life-changing revelations on that boat. You see, I've come back from that trip with renewed purpose in my life. I know it's probably a little silly that just being on the ocean did this to me, but not only that, I went over to see my uncle who I haven't seen in a long time. He's a fantastic man, very, very wonderful. I'm very grateful to have him in my life. But yeah, just talking with him has given me renewed purpose in what I'm doing in my life. You see, for a long time when I started this, I was just kind of meandering about. I didn't want to do anything with my life. But now you know what? I'm going about this wrong. Let's do a play-by-play of this trip. So whole trip started when I got to the airport. I live in Spokane, obviously, so I was going to I don't know, it's called Spokane International. It used to be Geiger, but regardless, besides the point. So I get there. I'm on the plane. I'm not on the plane yet. I'm in going through security. Thankfully, it was the last flight out. So basically, I burned right through security. Zero line, zero trouble. The only thing that happened was my right pant leg was a little too ruffled for their liking, so I had to get patted down there. But yeah, so then I'm waiting for the plane. It's to me, I'm not really wholly expecting what kind of trip I'm about to have. I'm just thinking, oh, whatever. I guess I did say I'd do this, and he's probably already paid the money for us to go charter fishing, so I may as well. But yeah, I don't think I had ever realized how much this trip was going to mean to me. So I get on the plane, and the first sign that something might be different is when it's Spokane to Seattle. That's a short ass fucking flight, right? That's like 39 minutes. So the first thing I notice that maybe something's different inside me and how I look at things is I've done this before at night. So I never really thought anything of looking over Seattle at night, but then just kind of awestruck by the whole area. The whole Seattle area is just, honestly, I mean, I know some people might call it an urban sprawl, but honestly, it's kind of beautiful just looking at this massive development. I mean, the hundreds, thousands of people, probably, upwards of millions of people live in this area. And I was just awestruck by I don't know, the beauty of human existence, I guess. I don't know, not like the nature of being human, like the beauty of how humans have completely mastered their environment. But besides the point I'm trying to make is the first time I noticed something might be different inside me this time on this particular trip was when I didn't look over at all the lights in the city and go, whatever. I was just kind of amazed by it. So that was the first moment I noticed something might be up. So then I get off the plane and I meet my uncle, and it's I'm a little hyped up, a little excited because I'm finally going on a trip. The first time I've been on a vacation, I want to say over a year. So we do that, and then I'm a little hungry, so we stop at this place, Metropolitan Market, and nothing special except for the fact that I went there at 11 at night, and I didn't feel like I was going to get fucking stabbed. I mean, that where I work, you feel like you're going to get stabbed most hours of the day, let alone 11 at night. So I suppose, I don't know, that was my first sign that maybe things will be a little different. So we get to his house, I go to sleep, all that, blah, blah, blah. Wake up in the morning with a killer leg cramp, but, I just didn't care. I just did not care. So, most of the day passed by pretty uneventfully. Went for a pretty great ride in a Datsun Roadster of his. But, yeah, then we, went on a 3-hour drive to Westport from where he lives, and just being honest, It was terrible. I mean, traffic was awful. Was really the biggest thing. Traffic was pretty much awful the whole way, all the way through Aberdeen up to Westport. But I don't know. I would complain about it, but besides it being terrible, I just didn't care. I just did not give a shit. I suppose that's kind of a big thing, is I've just stopped caring about things that go badly. So anyway, we get to bed, and then it's we wake up at 3:45 in the morning to get on this boat. The boat leaves port at 4:30. So we had to get up bright and fucking early. So we get on the boat. I get in the cabin, which I've taken scopolamine and some Zofran. Maybe realistically not the best combo, but I would pay for it later. But anyway, we get on the boat, and things are pretty uneventful for a while. We're just talking with all these people. By the way, I should mention, fishermen are some of the friendliest people on this damn planet. Like, seriously, I could not have asked for a more pleasant experience. There was not a single, bit of negativity on that boat. Everyone was just, except for me, obviously, because I'm underage, but everyone else was, just drinking beer, having a good time, It was fantastic. So anyway, we're in the cabin, and then, I immediately feel it. I feel that the salty saliva pooling up in my mouth, so, I do the 3 points of contact shuffle all the way out to the railing, and I immediately just huck up everything I'd eaten for breakfast that morning. Which, in hindsight, should have been the first sign that maybe I should have just taken the fucking Dramamine. But anyway, so we eventually get out to the first fishing spot on this boat. Now this boat, we were out for two things that day. We were out for rockfish and we were out for salmon. The first spot is for rockfish. Now, something I didn't know is that rockfish are easy motherfuckers to catch. Like, sure, they take live bait, but regardless, they take the bait. So the deckhands, they put this little bucket full of water and a whole bunch of anchovies on it. Live anchovies is what we're using for bait. And essentially what you do is you spear the anchovy right through the fucking skull, and then you just kind of drop it into the water, and then a rockfish will bite eventually. It's not a matter of if. Not a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they bite. And trust me, they'll bite quickly. So eventually, I catch like 10 rockfish myself. Just tons of these fucking things. And then what happens is, this eventually the whole boat is just covered in these stupid fish. They don't even bother killing them because they can't flop high enough to get off the boat. So, we just have these live fish just flopping around. So then, we finish up there. It's pretty, other than the fact that every single person on the boat, there's like 21 people on this boat, every single one of us caught, 10 fish. So, there's 210 fish flopping around. We just didn't, they didn't kill them until we started moving. And then the deckhands, obviously very experienced at what they're doing, just start picking up the fish by the tail, stabbing them in the brain, and chucking them in the cooler. So, eventually we have 210 dead rockfish and just blood fucking everywhere from these things. But that's soon gone because, we're on the ocean, and boats on the ocean tend to have, they're called scullies or something like that. But anyway, the little holes that let the water in and out. So, they have those. Now, between the rockfish and the salmon spot is where things kind of got a little difficult for me. You see, I still had not taken the fucking Dramamine, which I really should have I really should have. So eventually, I get so motion sick, I have to go sit out on the deck because it's all about the windows and how the windows and the horizon perspective all, mess with your brain. So out on the deck, I'm not feeling too motion sick, right? But I have to excuse all the yawning. I just woke up. But I sit on the cooler for the rockfish, right? So, unfortunately, I did get a little tired, so I kind of fall asleep, sitting up on this thing. And I wake up and I'm like thinking, boy, my feet sure are cold. And I had these rubber boots, these really thick, like dairy, like cow milking boots, the ones you're supposed to use to wade through cow shit. I'm wearing those. And then I'm thinking, boy, my feet sure are cold. And lo and behold, I've fallen asleep right next to the edge of the cooler that had just water constantly pouring into it. So my boots are literally full of water. I'm thinking, wow, no wonder my feet are cold. But you know what? I suppose at a different point in my life, I would have been like, oh, my boots are wet, I gotta fix this. But at this point, I simply did not care. I don't know what the fuck that is on my wall. But yeah. I just simply did not care. I suppose there's something in my mindset where, the good is going to outweigh the bad. And that really really kind of shown when I was dry heaving off of the side of this boat, my boots full of water, my pants literally soaked with seawater. But yeah, I just didn't care. I don't know. I was just having such a good time that the negativity was just not really an important part of it. So then, that all passes and we get to the salmon spot. Now, salmon are a little more difficult to catch than rockfish. You have to be it's a pretty involved process. Step 1, you got to get the headless big anchovy on the hook. Then you have to test it to make sure it spins, because it's all about the bait spinning for these salmon, apparently. Because with the rockfish, you just use actual live bait. Whereas the bait needs to be a little bigger because it's basically impossible to actually get a grip on these fish. So, you get the fish, the headless fish on the hook, you make sure it spins, and then you have to release the line, but you don't let it free fall. Instead, you have to hold the line and you have to pull it out to 60 feet. Now, it may seem a little impossible, but from the reel to the first, I don't know what the word is, the first loop on the rod is 2 feet, so essentially you just pull it out 30 times. And then you pull it out 30 times, and then you slowly reel it back up, and eventually a salmon was going to bite. Now, I got real fucking lucky. I went out to about, I want to say 66 feet both times I caught a fish, and there was chum in the water, so that probably helped. But regardless, there's chum in the water, and we have all these, all these people on the boat. But the first salmon I catch, I was not prepared for how hard they pull. Now you see, I almost lose grip of my rod, but thankfully I stabbed myself in the gut with the the blunt end of it, saying I'm literally holding onto it with my abs. Well, what little abs? More like my gut. But regardless, holding onto it with my gut. And you got to reel fast and hard for these fucking things. Well, first, you have to give it a little pull so it doesn't snap the line. So, you pull out about 4 feet of line, give it a little pull, and then you start reeling in really fast. So, you pull up these salmon, and these are big fish. I mean, they're not like big fish, it's not like I caught a fish and it was these big. No. It's a fairly moderately, on the whole grand scheme of things, it's a moderately sized fish. But still, it's a big fish, especially if it's your first time fishing. So, I catch my first fish. I pull this thing up, the deckhands net it for me. Now I've got this salmon, and, I got one salmon. So they bonk it. I should have taken a video. It would have been the funniest thing. Literally, they bonk it on the head with a stick until it stops moving. Well, not so much bonk. It's more like an aggressive smash. But still, essentially they break it, they kill it. So, that's the first salmon. Man, I should mention, those things are fucking bleeders. I guess I got them in the gills both times, but man, those motherfuckers bleed. My boots are covered in salmon blood. But yeah, so anyway, about an hour passes, and then eventually I get my second salmon. And this time I got to go around the boat, because salmon, they pull pretty hard. They aren't very big, but they're very strong fish. So I had to go around the boat under a whole bunch of fishing lines to catch this. I catch my other one, and this one's big. Like, this is a big fucking fish. But also, big fish, I catch it, caught it in the gills as well, so there's just blood everywhere. But, that's, and then so that's the legal limit in Washington for salmon. I don't think we were in Washington, but I was operating under a Washington license, so, technically, in Washington. But anyway, the legal limit for salmon on that day, I could only catch 2. So, I was feeling a little motion sick after that, so I finally took fucking Dramamine and just went and crashed in the cabin. I think I was sleeping, I want to say, legs down vertically, like an L, but, sideways. So, yeah, that's how the fishing trip went for the most part. And then I spent the rest of it shitposting on Twitter, because I had phone service 30 miles off the coast. But yeah, that took about 3 hours. 3 hours every direction, 3 hours to the rockfish spot, 3 hours to the salmon spot, 3 hours back to the coast. And yeah, that's the fishing itself. But I also had a lot of good opportunities to talk with my uncle, and I've made a decision. I'm going back to school. I'm getting a CompTIA A+ certification, which is kind of a big, big deal for my earnings potential, because right now I have zero real earnings potential. Essentially, I can work retail and that's it. In fact, I'm recording this before I have to go to work on this fucking fine rainy Friday. But anyway, I'm recording this now. But I could, I get this CompTIA A+ certification. I could actually work a job that, at the very least pays me more. than fucking minimum wage, which is just the worst. Like, I get abused. I get, functionally, I'm just the fuck. These people, I'm the scum of society. I'm a dog that needs to be put down. But yeah, and I don't like that. I don't want that anymore. So, I guess that combined with the fact that, it's really hard to go into details without, exposing, my uncle, because he's fairly important. But let's just say, very high end IT in a very important industry over in the West. And, yeah, so what I really like to do is not be, what I'd really like is not to be working retail the rest of my life. So I'm getting that certification as soon as I can. And then what I'm going to do is, simply put, I'm just going to, I'm going to get a better job. And then I'm going into the IT college at Western Governors University, which, I mean, I know it's an online university, but still, it's worked for my family. Why won't it work for me? And I'm getting going to get a bachelor's in software development, so I can eventually work in video games. Now, I know that seems cringe and blue-pilled, but being honest, software development's a growing field, and more importantly, it's better than... I can burn through it in a year and a half, and most importantly, it's better than working fucking retail. And I suppose the real reason I've always hated retail, and this may not change with other jobs, but the real reason I've always hated retail is because, man, I'm yawning a lot, but is because I can't have energy. I can't do anything fun. It's all gotta be fucking, hi, welcome to beep beep beep. I'm not going to name my store, but hi, welcome here. Can I suck your cock and clean it too? That's it's the kind of shit I have to put up with. Anyone, you try to put a little bit of energy into anything, any sort of performance, they get all pissy. It's like, I want to be your manager. You're being rude. So I'm fucking sick of that. And that's why I want to get this certification. So at the very least, at the absolute very least, I can get out of this fucking job. And really, I guess that's the whole takeaway is life can be better. Going out on the ocean and talk with my uncle, that really just kind of made me realize life can be better than what I have currently. And you know what? I'm going for it. I want this. It's not like other times where I'm like, oh, I'll do it eventually. No, I want this. I want to live better than the way I'm living right now. And anyway, that's the show for today. Really like it if you drop a subscription, but at this point, whatever. I post so infrequently, what's the point? You'll see. If you're listening, you probably saw this from Twitter anyway. So yeah. That's the show, and stay safe out there, folks.